Alright, so a really common question that I've been getting recently is how do I balance everything? You know, I have school, but I also want to get into business with my drop shipping thing, and I also want to get into fitness to build a really good body, and I also want to get into my mental health because my mental health isn't really good, but I also want to get into reading, so like, do you have any book recommendations? And what I always tell these people that ask me this is, you can't. You can't juggle all of them. Even I can't juggle all of them. That's not the most efficient way to get shit done. In fact, it might be the worst way, and here's what to do instead. The thing that you have to understand is that when something is your purpose layer, when it is the thing that is your focus in life right now, you have to align as much of your life to it as possible. You only choose one thing and then you do it until it's done. That's what focus really means. Like for example, imagine that you're Genghis Khan, right? You have 1,000 Mongolian soldiers with you and you want to conquer as much of the world as possible. Think about this. If you sent 1,000 of your soldiers into Mongolia, you would take over Mongolia. But imagine now you're like, I want to take over Mongolia, sure, but I also want to take over Russia, so I was like send 500 soldiers to Russia. China looks good, I'll send like 300 over to China, then you send like a couple to the surrounding countries. What happens is that your forces are now split. Your army is thin, is spread thin, and so now you end up conquering nothing. You have like one lonely soldier show up to a country, then he just gets fucking destroyed by the military because he doesn't have an army behind him. You didn't focus your forces into one thing. Think about it. If you just focus your forces into Mongolia, you would have just conquered Mongolia. You could have gone one at a time, but you got greedy. Is this what you're doing with your goals? Like think about your life recently. Is this what you're metaphorically doing? Where instead of focusing all your forces, all your time, your energy into one thing, you're spreading it thin amongst like 50 things, and then you wonder why you don't get anything done. If you want to conquer the world, just start with one country. If you try conquering all of them, you'll end up conquering none of them. And this is the approach that we need for our skills and for our studies and whatever you want to get into. Divide and conquer. So to practically visualize this, you need to do this with me. There's this chart from a Sam Ovens video and I'll quickly explain it. I love this chart. Every time I can talk about it when it's relevant, I always talk about it because it's so good. So basically, this chart has a circle in the middle which represents time, capabilities, your energy. These are the things that are finite, and this is how we get shit done. So in the middle you have a circle and you label it as just energy, for example. And then coming out from that circle, we're going to draw arrows, and each arrow represents the activities that we do in our day. So basically, the arrows represent where our time and energy go towards. So the rule that I follow for this is basically, if you spend more than 1 hour on an activity, draw it as an arrow and then label it. So for some things, obviously like for sleeping, we're not going to put that. We don't really have to put that. And the same for eating and stuff. It's not really relevant. So for example, if you spend more than 1 hour gaming, you're going to have to draw an arrow and label it gaming. If you spend more than 1 hour watching YouTube, you're going to have to draw an arrow and label it YouTube. And this activity might take you like 5 to 10 minutes. Just think of your average day and see where your time and your energy usually go to. And once you're done, look at it. You probably have, 10 things, 15 things, 20 things on your plate. And this is why you're not achieving much, because you have so many things that your energy and your time is spread thin. You won't be able to get much done. You're trying to conquer every country instead of just focusing on one. What if instead of having like 10 things, let's say you have 10 things, right? Imagine if you reduced it by like 5. You get rid of 5 big things and now you only have 5 things to think about in your day. Suddenly, you make way more progress in those 5 things. Imagine instead of 5, you reduce it even more down to 3. Now you make massive progress in those 3 things. And then now imagine if you get rid of everything and we only have one. For example, YouTube or fitness or whatever. Now all your energy and time in your day goes towards this one thing. That's how you make real progress. Less is more. Our goal is not to fill up our day. Our goal is to fill up our day with just the one thing that truly is important to us. That is how you make massive progress. Like for myself, all my thoughts for the past 6 to 12 months has just been YouTube. I have not really thought about anything else. Like the reason I've made so much progress is because I just focused all my thoughts, all my energy, all my time into this one thing. And that's how I make massive progress. And now when it's done and I move on to the next thing, imagine I put all that same amount of energy into the next thing. That's how you achieve big things, but you have to go one at a time. And the funny thing is, I think I did less than most people. Like most YouTubers did more than what I did, because I literally just posted a video once a week. Other YouTubers like posting every day, they're putting shorts everywhere, they're gonna go to TikTok, try to go to Instagram, but then it's the same thing. They're splitting themselves thin between 5 different social medias when I just focused on one and tried to get good at one. It's the same concept. divide and conquer. And once you choose the 1 to 3 things that you really want to focus on, just know that in the future, you will be tempted to switch one of them. So for me, for the past 6 to 12 months, I've really only been thinking about school, YouTube, and fitness. And I've been tempted because think about it, that means I've not been thinking about my social life at all. That area of life is not even part of my consciousness anymore. So I've been tempted to start getting into social life, to start especially dating life. That's the one that's honestly tempted me the most because I'm a horny motherfucker. And you'll be tempted as well, but do not switch. No matter what, do not switch. So for example, maybe you'll be doing school, fitness, and social life, right? Because you're probably not a YouTuber, so you don't have YouTube. But then you'll start thinking, oh man, I'm doing school, fitness, and social life, but I kind of want to make money. So, I mean, I could just, switch fitness for money, then I just focus on money for a while. That sounds good. But do not. Because if you do, you start making money, then think, oh man, I'm not really happy with my body anymore. I should just switch back to fitness. Then you switch back to fitness, then you switch back to money, you switch back and forth. You will always want what you don't have. No matter what you do, you will always want what you don't have. This is shiny object syndrome. So since you've made the commitment, just say to yourself, I've made a commitment, I'm gonna stick to my commitment. Imagine if I made a commitment to get to 100k subs on YouTube, but then halfway I was like, nah, I actually don't want this, I want to start dating. I start dating, then after I get what I want, I'm like, oh, actually, I still want the 100k subs. So then I get back to the 100k subs, but then I'm not spending time with her anymore because I'm thinking about YouTube all the time, and then the relationship goes bad because I'm not thinking about her, I'm thinking about my work, we don't spend time together, and now this could have all been avoided if I just took it one step at a time. So don't go through all that, just go one step at a time. The grass is not greener on the other side. The grass is greener where you water it. So basically, balance is a myth. There is no such thing as balance. You don't get to balance 50 things. You choose one thing, and you kind of go obsessive into this one thing for a period of time. Maybe a couple months, maybe a year, maybe 2 years. But this is the one thing that is your purpose layer right now. So look at your goals. Do you have like multiple written down? Of the 3 or 5 or maybe 10 goals that you have, you only get to choose one. Everything else needs to be sacrificed for that one thing. That one thing is your priority. Priorities is not a word because priority means it's number one. Nothing else can be at number one. If it's priority, it's number one. Everything else falls below it. Meaning, if fitness is number one and studying is number two, and then you come home after school, you're a bit tired, and you have the option to either study or go to the gym. Since fitness is number one, you'll go to the gym. Then maybe tomorrow is a rest day, so you don't get to do fitness again. Then you do number two. Okay, fair enough. But have this mindset that you need to sacrifice for the thing at number one. You have to sacrifice for the most important thing in your life, and you don't get multiple priorities. That's not how it works. You only get one. And so I think it's time to start taking your goals more seriously. Look at all your goals. One of them is more meaningful to you than the others. Maybe your studies is okay right now, so the studies goal doesn't really matter to you too much. Maybe your mental health is actually okay, so your mental health isn't the goal right now. But maybe it's your fitness. Maybe you're not happy with your body. That's gonna be the goal. Or maybe, you want to start making money because you don't feel very safe in your current financial situation. Then maybe making money will be the goal. One of them will stick out to you. When you look at your list of goals, there's gonna be one that sticks out. And if you don't have a list of goals, go write a list of goals. One of them will be more important, and that's the one that you should choose. And so weirdly enough, if you want to take your goals more seriously, you should remove a bunch of them. Like remove all of them except for maybe 1 or 2, and then go really serious and obsessive into those 1 or 2. Don't believe the things you see on social media about like the student athlete who does like 50 things. He's got business, he plays piano, he does martial arts, he does like track and field, he's also an astronaut, he's also a doctor. That's not how it works, right? Those people, they're trying to do everything just so that it looks good on social media. But have this mindset that for the next 6 months, maybe 1 year, 2 years, until this goal is done, this is gonna be your obsession. This is gonna be your layer of purpose. So choose it wisely. And you don't get to go back and like switch your decision. Choose it now. Start taking your goal seriously. Remember, if you try conquering the world, you need to start with just one country. Take action. Alright, I have school in like 40 minutes and I'm already dressed for it, so like, alright, let's go. Give me a kiss. Mwah.